Welcome to English Podcast, your place to enjoy captivating stories and real conversations.
Listen anytime, anywhere, and boost your confidence step by step.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Have you ever been completely lost, utterly disoriented, in a place you thought you knew? I mean, really lost, like swallowed by a building. That's what happened to me at the City Museum, a place famous for its labyrinthine layout. Labyrinthine, a good word to know, meaning like a maze, full of twisting passages.
I can imagine, museums can be huge, especially the older ones. They often have so many wings and corridors, it's easy to get turned around. Was it a history museum?
Oh, yes, a history museum overflowing with artifacts, objects from the past. From ancient pottery to medieval suits of armor, it had it all. It wasn't just the size, but the way the exhibits were arranged, almost haphazardly. Like someone had just piled centuries on top of each other.
Haphazardly, that's a good one. It means, without any order or plan. I can see how that would make a museum confusing. So, how did you get lost? Did you wander off from your group?
I was actually alone that day, which probably didn't help. I started in the Egyptian exhibit, fascinated by the hieroglyphs, those ancient picture writings. I spent ages trying to decipher them. Decipher means to figure out the meaning, and when I finally looked up, I realized I was alone. Utterly alone.
Oh dear, that sounds a bit spooky. Egyptian exhibits can be quite dark and atmospheric, too. It's easy to lose track of time in places like that. Were there many other people in the museum that day?
So, there I was, standing in the Hall of Ancient Civilizations, surrounded by pottery shards and dusty relics. I felt a bit overwhelmed, like I was drowning in history. That's when I noticed a small, unassuming doorway tucked away in a corner. It looked different.
Different how? Like, spooky different, or just not part of the regular museum flow?
Not spooky, exactly. More like forgotten, like it hadn't been used in years. The sign above it was tiny, almost illegible. It said, Storage Annex.
Storage Annex? That doesn't sound very exciting. Most museums keep their less interesting items in storage. Annex, by the way, just means an additional building or part of a building. So, a storage annex is just a storage room, basically.
I know, right? But something about it drew me in. Curiosity, I guess. Or maybe it was the promise of escaping the crowds. I mean, the main hall was packed with tourists.
I can understand that. Museums can get very crowded, especially during peak season. So, you decided to explore the annex? Brave, or maybe foolish?
A little of both, perhaps. I pushed the door open, and it creaked loudly, like in an old movie. The air inside was thick with dust, and the light was dim, filtering in through a small, high window. It smelled old, like old books and even older things.
Old books have a distinct smell, don't they? Kind of musty and earthy. Musty, by the way, means smelling stale, damp, and moldy. So, what did you see inside this mysterious annex?
Rows and rows of shelves, packed with artifacts. Not the polished, displayed kind you see in the main halls. These were rougher, unfinished, like they'd been pulled straight from an archaeological dig. There were crates piled on the floor, covered in faded labels written in languages I didn't recognize.
That sounds intriguing. Archaeological dig is a good term to know. An archaeological dig is an excavation site where archaeologists search for and uncover artifacts and remains from the past. So, these objects hadn't been cleaned up or put on display yet. Raw history, you could say.
Exactly. And it was amazing. There were ancient tools, pieces of armor, even what looked like a shrunken head, though I tried not to look at that too closely. I felt like an explorer, uncovering lost treasures. It was thrilling. So, to quickly recap, our main character, Amelia, is lost in the museum. She wandered off from her school group, fascinated by a dusty, old map.
Right, and this map isn't just any map. It's a map of the museum itself, but it looks much older than the museum. It shows secret passages and rooms that aren't on any modern map. A bit like a hidden treasure map, you could say.
Exactly. And she's already found one of these secret passages, a narrow, winding staircase hidden behind a tapestry. Winding means it curves and twists a lot.
She followed the staircase down, and it led her to a dimly lit corridor. Dimly lit means there wasn't much light, it was quite dark. She felt a bit nervous, but also excited by the adventure.
She's definitely getting more than she bargained for on this school trip. To get more than you bargained for means to get something unexpected, often something more than you wanted.
Yes, definitely. Remember, bargained for relates to bargaining, like haggling over a price in a market. In this case, Amelia was expecting a normal museum visit but is getting a much more unusual experience.
Now, remember that dusty, old map? It showed a room labeled the curator's study. A curator is someone who manages a museum or a collection. Amelia thinks finding this room might help her get back to her class.
She's hoping the curator, or perhaps records of the museum's layout, can be found there. So she's exploring this mysterious corridor, following the lines on her old map, trying to find the curator's study.
And she's starting to realize this area of the museum is filled with strange, forgotten objects, things not usually on display.
She sees old clocks stopped at odd times, scientific instruments she doesn't recognize, and dusty portraits of people she's never seen before. This part of the museum feels different.
It's like stepping back in time. The air is thick with dust, and there's a strange, musty smell, almost like old books and dried flowers.
It's creating a really mysterious atmosphere. Atmosphere refers to the feeling or mood of a place. And the silence. It's almost as if she's the only person who's been here for a very long time.
As I carefully opened the heavy oak door, the air inside felt colder, damper. A musty smell, like old books and forgotten things, filled my nostrils. The light was dim, filtering in through a small, high window, thick with dust. It felt like stepping back in time.
That imagery is so vivid. Musty means having a stale, damp, and moldy smell, often associated with old, closed-up spaces. You really paint a picture with your words.
Thanks, I try. And nostrils, remember, are the openings in your nose. So, the musty smell filled my nostrils.
Perfect. Let's continue. I'm eager to hear what happens next.
Dust motes danced in the single beam of light. I took a tentative step inside. The room was crammed with forgotten artifacts, chipped pottery, faded tapestries, and dusty display cases filled with what looked like ancient tools. It was clearly a storage room, long abandoned.
Tentative is a good word to know. It means hesitant or cautious. You weren't sure what you'd find, so you took a tentative step.
Exactly. I felt a little apprehensive, a little nervous about what I might find in there.
That makes sense. Crammed means completely full, packed tightly. So, the room was crammed with these forgotten objects.
I ran my finger along a dusty display case. Inside, I saw a collection of tarnished silver lockets. Each one was intricately engraved with different symbols, stars, moons, and strange, unfamiliar characters. I felt a shiver run down my spine. This room held secrets.
Tarnished is a good one. It describes metal that has lost its shine and become discolored because of oxidation. Like old silver jewelry.
Yes, and the lockets were intricately engraved. Intricately means in a complex or detailed way. The engravings were very detailed and elaborate.
So we have tarnished, which describes the appearance, and intricately, which describes the craftsmanship of the engravings. Very useful descriptive words.
I noticed a small, leather-bound book lying open on a nearby table. Its pages were yellowed and brittle, filled with elegant, handwritten script. I cautiously reached out and touched one of the pages. It felt like it might crumble to dust at any moment.
Brittle is a great word to describe something that is hard but easily broken, like dry leaves or, in this case, old paper.
Exactly. And cautiously, as we've seen before, means carefully, with a sense of caution. So I cautiously touched the page, afraid of damaging it.
So, we've had musty, tentative, crammed, tarnished, intricately, and brittle. All excellent vocabulary.
As I leaned closer to decipher the script, a sudden creak echoed through the silent room. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I was not alone.
Oh no, that's a cliffhanger. Decipher means to figure out the meaning of something difficult to understand, like a code or, in this case, old handwriting. To understand or interpret something.
Right, I was trying to decipher the writing when I heard the noise. And a cliffhanger, as you said, is a dramatic and exciting ending to a part of a story that makes you want to know what happens next.
Exactly. I can't wait to find out what happens next. This is getting exciting.
Okay, let's quickly recap the story so far. Remember, Ben got separated from his class on a school trip to the city museum. He wandered off, fascinated by a dusty, old wing no one seemed to visit. He found strange exhibits, like the miniature clockwork city and the room full of antique toys.
He even met the mysterious curator, Mrs. Willow, who told him stories about the museum's hidden history and the forgotten people who donated the peculiar objects. She seemed to know everything about the museum, which is a bit strange, right? Almost as if she'd always been there.
Then, he discovered that curious compass, the one with the strange symbols, and as he held it, the museum seemed to shift. Things became even more unusual, more dreamlike. The air felt thicker, older somehow. The word, disorienting, comes to mind, meaning, it made Ben lose his sense of direction and where he was.
Exactly. He started seeing glimpses of people from different eras, of Victorian gentlemen examining a pocket watch, a flapper girl admiring a feathered hat. These are all things that shouldn't have been there. It's as though the past was bleeding into the present. The word, bleeding, here means merging or mixing, not actual blood, of course.
He felt drawn deeper into the museum, almost as if the compass was guiding him. He realized he was completely lost, but strangely, not scared. He was more curious than afraid. He began to think that the museum was more than just a building, more like a living thing.
Then he found himself back in the main hall. Everything seemed normal again, almost disappointingly so. His class was there, about to leave. But Ben felt changed. He looked at the familiar exhibits with new eyes. He knew there was more to the museum than met the eye, secrets hidden just beneath the surface.
He tried to explain what happened to his teacher, but she just laughed and said he must have had a very vivid imagination. Vivid means strong and clear, like a dream you remember perfectly.
As he boarded the bus, he noticed Mrs. Willow watching him from a darkened doorway, a faint smile playing on her lips. He clutched the compass in his pocket. It was still warm. He knew with absolute certainty, that his adventure wasn't over. It had just begun.
Thanks for listening to English Boost. Remember, practice a little every day and you'll see big results. See you in the next episode.